And how is it going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 93 of the Paws podcast. I am Jake Gibson, joined alongside my friend and co-host Kevin Barral. And Kevin, let's call the podcast Kiss Sean Fred, because we have been on a heater these last few episodes. Since episode 84, which was the last episode we did where we didn't have a guest, we just talked some shop. We have had some hella nice guests on this program: Carissa Kilby, Jillian Huckleby, Eddie Hondel, Julius Pierce, Mateo Agudelo, and Javier Garcia, Nick Coleman, and Frank Ponce. That is a pretty good lineup, Kev.
And we have more to come.
We have more to come.
As we near episode 100, we've been working to get our guests for that one. But yeah, happy to be on here, just us two, talking some FIU, talking some shop. And it's been a while for sure. I mean, you said it, almost 10 episodes, that we haven't done this. And I felt like, it was time to do this. It's a good way to stay on ahead of schedule with, to get that episode 100, which we're trying to plan out very specifically. Yeah, I'm just excited to talk. Spring game over. So now we're in a little bit of a dead period here with football, where it's a little bit of transfer portal action. We'll see how active FIU is. Already been pretty active with three commits, one of them official. The other two have yet to become official for FIU. But outside of that, man, baseball, huge series win against New Mexico State. Basketball, transfer portal, not going too well. The whole team is gone. Literally the entire team is gone. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm excited to be on here, episode 93, and 7 away from 100. But episode with Edward was a fun one. So we have one coming up with a couple other people, and we're trying to line up another one. So I would say from this episode, 94, 95, and 96 are essentially already locks.
Yep. So, and we are working closely with FIU Athletics to make sure that 100 is going to be as lit as possible. That's all we can say for now. But yeah, episode 84 was back on February the 20th. So it's been a couple months since we've just talked. We've just talked shop about FIU Athletics. So let's get right into it, starting off with, like you said, football. We're coming off the spring game with a very interesting score, 7-2. If you're a sicko, if you're part of the sickos committee, you saw that final score and was like, yes, 7-2 sounds pretty lit. But no doubt about it, Kev, we spoke about it in the Paws Up post-game show following the game over at the press box. Defense, wow. Offense looked good at times too, but that defense, man, it definitely makes you confident for what they can do against, Bethune-Cookman to start off the season, FAU, and then the rest of CUSA. They look good, and they look ready to go.
Yeah, that was pretty fun to watch, at least on the defensive side of the ball. And it's still super early because you still have a whole summer. You have a fall camp to go through. So you got to see a glimpse, and I think Keyone noted it in an interview that he did. Like, we only saw 25% of this offense. Like, there's still so much more to see and so much more to unlock. And that's the point of the spring. It's really just to get the guys, on the same page, especially with a new head coach like Willie Simmons. You're trying to adjust to a new offense, adjust to a new team, new staff, new everything. So I think that was the key there. Now, I will say, this isn't like the Coach McIntyre year one where it was literally an entire new team. There's a lot of familiar faces here, a lot of guys who did not leave. So that was really cool to see. And they're already making additions to the portal, which we'll talk about in a bit. But overall, I was pleased with what I saw in the spring game. And I think that it's a good way to set up what we could see in the fall. And I don't know about you, Jake, but I just want some college football already. And not spring games, no fall practices. I want FIU to welcome Bethune-Cookman to Pipple Stadium, and I want FIU to go to Penn State already to see what their first 2 weeks look like. And, I mean, I want the Shula Bowl already. I want the Shula Bowl at Pipple Stadium. I want that trophy back in that little trophy stand. But we got to go through the dog days. Now is the real dog days. This is when the real dog days begin, because at least we had action. We had spring ball. We had a lot of movement in the portal. We had Willie Simmons to talk about, his new coaching staff. Now there's nothing to talk about for a couple months. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think I liked what I saw. Just some names that really stood out to me. Alex Perry looks awesome.
Fire.
We spoke to him post game. He was someone who really stood out. He's, I think, 6'4", 6'5". So not the same thing as Desna, but Desna was a tall dude, long guy. Same thing with Perry. Perry could just do a little bit more than what Desna did. They're saying they're going to use him in all sorts of ways, which I'm really excited to see what that looks like. It won't only be red zone or 50-50, which is kind of what they were limiting Washington to last season. And obviously, it was a really short stint, but just worth noting that. And, on the defensive side, I think Victor Evans Jr. is someone who I'm really looking forward to seeing what's up with him, how he looks like. Like, he had those 2 interceptions, and it's really just like, let's see what that looks like moving forward.
Mm-hmm. You said it yourself, man. I want college football yesterday. I mean, I don't know if you've been watching the UFL. It's all right. It's okay. It's spring football, not the best quality, but you get what you get. You can't get upset. I get it. And I love the NFL. Don't get me wrong. I'm already hyped up for the draft. I want to see what the Dolphins do. Now that the Dolphins, they don't have Teron Armstead, I'm going to assume they're going to go for a lineman with that first pick. It just makes too much sense. Get the best O lineman available. We're going to tune in for that, but there's just something special about the week before the college football season starts when you realize we're back. We're so back. We've never been more back, but that is a long way away. We have baseball to get through. We have a lot of other stuff to get through for us specifically. And yeah, for us specifically, a big achievement coming soon, 100. That's been lit. We crossed 1K on Twitter, which is super awesome. 1K followers. That's super sick. Can't thank you guys enough. So let's hear from Coach Simmons real quick. In the post game pressure, just an overview about the spring game, just his initial thoughts on the crowd, everything. Let's hear it.
Great atmosphere today. Excited about all the fans that came out, and definitely want to see a great crowd. But today was a success. Our number one goal was to come out and compete, stay healthy, which we did, and let the guys showcase what they're about. And so it's glad to see them get out there and have fun. That's been a theme for us all spring, is to really fall back in love with playing football. And I think watching those guys today, you definitely saw them flying around, having a lot of fun. So all in all, it was a great day, great spring, and we definitely have something to build off of that we can look forward to.
So, by the way, shout out to Coach Simmons and shout out to this football staff and FIU athletics in general for making it into an actual full-on football game. Once again, for the spring game, instead of the spring practices, the spring scrimmages that we've seen in the past, this was a real contact football game that lasted 4 quarters. Granted, there was some funny clock things here and there, and the quarterbacks weren't tackled. There was like 2-hand touch for them. I get all that, but still, it was just fun watching an actual full-on football game. I'm very appreciative they went back to that.
And one thing I want to note, and I like that Willie mentioned this, because that's something I heard throughout all of camp, just finding the love of football again. And that's something that Coach touched on, and I'm glad he did, because that's something I want to touch on. A lot of guys maybe, and I think someone mentioned it. It may have been one of the Paws Up previews or Paws Up on locations that you did, or it must have been somewhere where someone mentioned, I feel like I found my love for football again. And that's not something that I heard a lot of towards the back end of last season. A lot of guys may have seemed to have lost that love, may have seemed to not enjoy playing football. And it seems like under Willie Simmons and the staff, it's been a lot of, let's bring the love back for these guys. Let's make football fun again. That's what they want. Like, there's a lot of pressure. Pressure is part of the game, and that's something that we all know. There was a lot of pressure last season for FIU to win 6 games, and they didn't. And who knows how much of that was because they were worrying more about the pressure than having fun and playing some football. And I think if you're loose and you play some football and you enjoy it and you make it competitive, you're going to want to win, and you're going to win games. And I think that's what Willie's trying to do here. Coach Simmons trying to do, in his first couple months on the job. And something else to note is just like how competitive these practices were and how competitive that spring game was. And I know, and as we mentioned, it was only around 25% of the playbook, and that may have been why the offense didn't look like it did, but this was a competitive football game regardless. From start to finish, it was a really defenses were competing, both of them, and they looked good. That was the A team and the B team. Not really, because you split it down the middle, but more or less, and is what that kind of lined up to be. And it was a competitive, and someone mentioned rattle the cage. I think that was Alex Perry, the rattle the cage period, something that they're doing, which is straight up one-on-ones between the cornerbacks and obviously the wide receivers. And I think that's something that they all enjoyed, and that's something that we had never seen before this year. So I think it was a lot about just making sure guys are enjoying their time here. You want the guys to stay. You want guys to have fun. And, on top of that, it's being competitive. And I think that's what they did. And this is a young coaching staff for the most part. Almost everyone's here is under the age of 40, more or less, except Willie and Frank Ponce are the only two over the age of 40, I want to say. Close. And Jovan DeWitt. My bad. So let's go under the age of 50. which
Okay.
still pretty young.
Putting it
Pretty
nice.
young regardless. So
No, that's great.
Willie, I want to say is 44. So
Yeah.
that's still very young for a head coach. Not very young, but it's young. So regardless, yeah, they brought back the fun in football at FIU, and they're doing well at that at the moment. Now, obviously, the fall is going to be a little bit more tough, I would say, because you're getting close to the season. You're going to have to crunch a lot more information, and that's what the spring was for, to prepare you for that. And I will say, and I want to say this because the way that they prepared these guys physically was impressive. Like the guys just looked faster. The defense just looked faster overall, a lot stronger, a lot more pressure to the quarterback. So I was impressed by that for sure. And I mean, again, I think we saw some good stuff.
Defensively, yeah. It was obvious. No one scored a touchdown until the last few minutes of the fourth quarter when Devontae Lyons finally got the ball in there. So we spoke about it in the postgame show. The MVP was absolutely Victor Evans III. An absolutely unreal day from him on defense. 2 interceptions as a defensive back. He wowed a lot of people. He wowed us, without a doubt. And overall, it was a good showing. Pretty good fan attendance there, especially before the game. The students were in it. Those pregame festivities before the game, now they were getting lit. I love it. And a lot of FIU alumni also making it out. John Smith, Cyprian, a lot of guys that just wanted to come back and show some love. Maurice Alexander as well. That's always good to see. And they made it clear during the spring practice, and it's now up to you guys watching to pack the cage for the home opener against Bethune-Cookman. By the way, shout out the schedule makers. Bethune-Cookman, week 1. Willie Simmons, FAMU, heated rivalry over there in the SWAC. That was a great decision. There's probably going to be a lot of Bethune-Cookman fans who make the travel from Daytona to FIU.
Well, a lot of FAMU
not that
fans too. FAMU plays at Hard Rock Stadium the next day, so a lot of FAMU fans. So
Orange Blossom
popping. That place is gonna be popping.
It's gonna be lit. Orange Blossom Classic, I think it's what it's called. The day after at Hard Rock Stadium, that's gonna be lit, man. We could talk all in all. We could talk about football for like 5 straight hours because we're that into it. We love covering it. But I do want to start to roll around here, and we're still going to talk about football. But I did want to address the recruits that have been signed by FIU recently. There's been a few. So Kevin, I know you've already done some articles on SI about them, so I'll let you take it away. I want to hear your thoughts on the quarterbacks. Speaking of quarterbacks, we do have one more clip actually from Coach Simmons talking about the QB room for FIU in general. It just got another seasoning into the pot with this new addition that we're going to talk about here in a second. Let's hear what Coach Simmons talked about real quick.
Yeah, obviously coming into the spring, you really wanted to solidify a number 2 guy. I think Lights has done a fairly good job of establishing himself as our clear-cut number 1 quarterback. But the old saying, if you don't have 2, you really don't have 1. And so, with Clayton and Chaden, those guys really competing every day, for that number 2 spot. They've all had great moments. Clayton, ability-wise, has a lot of potential. You see him throw the ball really well. He's athletic. He can move. So he's really done a great job of giving himself the best chance at this point to be QB2, and push Lights, to make sure that he doesn't relax a little bit. So, but he's still got to grow. He's still relatively young playing the position. Doesn't have a lot of snaps under his belt in high school playing the position, but the talent's there. And Chaden is a veteran guy, older guy who's been in the fire. So he gives us some security in that regard. But again, Coach Coleman's a tactician, a fundamental coach, and you see the growth that those guys have made over the 15 practices. And so we're excited to see the quarterback room continue to develop.
All righty, good words from him. We saw a lot of action aside from just Key One during that game, and we're going to talk about one of the newcomers. So I believe there's 3 players we want to go over. The first being quarterback Joe Pazanski from Holy Cross. The second being wide receiver Tarvarish Dawson from Colorado. And then the third and final one being Justin Cayenne, tight end from Penn. All of which have committed, maybe not officially committed, but they've said that they're going to play here for FIU. So let's talk about those real quick, starting off with the quarterback from Holy Cross. I think that was one of the first teams FIU ever played in football in that inaugural season, I want to say. But talk about what he can bring from that level here, and should we expect him sooner than later to be playing snaps for FIU.
Yeah, that was an interesting one to me. And just to be clear, well, first of all, Holy Cross is not one of the first teams FIU played. They did not even play him in their first year, but it's okay, Jake. Tavares Dawson is the only one that's official at the moment, the only one that has been posted on the FIU social media accounts. But let's start with the quarterback, Pazanski, who started all 12 games for Holy Cross. He threw for over 2,000 yards, 2,399 yards to be specific, I want to say. 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Really good quarterback. I mean, it shows it. I mean, he's not a bad QB by any means. He's not a big runner like Q1, but you know, Willie spoke about it, you know, in that press conference. Like Clayton's our quarterback too, and they're high on Clayton. Like everything I've understood is that they really like Clayton Dees and they think he's a really good quarterback. And now it's just a matter of who's really going to be your backup. Because yes, Clayton's your number 2, but you're bringing in Christian Langford from Georgia, not Georgia, the college, but the state of Georgia, high school over there. He's a freshman, incoming freshman. They really like him too. I know that's a guy who, you know, former coaches, current coaches on their previous jobs tried to get him. Obviously, got him here now at FIU. And then you're bringing in this guy, Joe Pazanski, who is a veteran quarterback, grad student, 1 year left. Not sure maybe if he has a redshirt year, but that's really interesting to me that they brought him in. I don't know how much of it maybe just has to do with like, hey, like I couldn't get my grad year at Holy Cross. I'm going to get it here at FIU, see how it goes, and that's it. Or, I mean, they legit think this guy could play, and they think they could put him in there, not right away, but at some point in the season. And it never hurts to have, you know, experience in your quarterback room. But FIU now, all of a sudden, like that quarterback room went from it's a pretty good one to like this is a really good QB room with Key1 at the 1, Pazanski or D's at the 2.
Yeah,
and you have, you know, Christian Langford, Chaden Peary, who got some games in last season. So that's a really interesting situation there, and that's something I'm definitely going to monitor because you wouldn't like. I expected them to get another quarterback. I didn't expect them to get this type of guy who's an experienced starter now, albeit at the FCS level, but still, this is the dude who's been playing every single year of his collegiate career, and he only had, I think, that 1 year where he played 4 games. So I'm interested to see what that's going to look like. Maybe they're just preparing for next year. You never know if Q1 enters the portal after the season. That's obviously a possibility. Did it once, could do it again. And that's when you bring in Pazanski into the fold, who's a quarterback that's ready to go.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what that'll look like. Or maybe he's just a guy who they're going to use in certain packages. So that's an interesting one for me.
To clarify, FIU took on Holy Cross in 2003, their second season as the football program. It was one of only 2 wins they had in their second season. However, they were vacated they were vacated because of violations in the program, blah, blah, blah. I don't think FIU football wants you to hear about that. No, they don't. But they did play Holy Cross, 2003. So, like you had mentioned, Cayenne from Penn, I think it's a good pickup, especially considering the tight end position might be hurting right now. We don't know the full extent of how badly this injury for Payne is. When we saw him at the spring game, he was in a wheelchair, you know? So
it was like it wasn't even a wheelchair. It's like one of those
something bad.
It was like a scooter. It was a scooter, and he had been in that for a bit too. So
for a football player, it's not a good thing to see.
Of course, he is expected to return though, so he will be healthy once fall rolls around.
Regardless, it's a good add-on to an already pretty good-looking tight end room that's already completely different from what we saw last season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have Braden Staten, who didn't quite convince me throughout, you know, the spring period. Again, that just is obviously just with the looks I've gotten. Everything I've been told is this is a guy who's going to block. This is an experienced guy. He's the lone returner of that tight end room. I'm not exactly sure what the situation with Chad Staley is. I don't know if he's still tight end or if he's going to be back to the O-line. That was an interesting situation, a case that FIU did last season. Remember, they moved Chad Staley to be a tight end just to add that extra blocker there. Because FIU, again, in that David Yost offense, the tight end was barely used to begin with. And just from the looks I got, it doesn't look like they used the tight end too much in catching, you know, pass catch, whatever you want to call it. It was more blocks and more just, you know, down the middle of the field catches. And that's what I noticed from the FAMU offense too. They really had that guy Cayenne is going to be a guy who they're going to utilize a lot, I think. Jake, they're going to use him down the field just to get some nice passes down the field. This is a dude who has played at Penn at UPenn. Like he's played those last, I think, 3 seasons at UPenn. Like he's gotten actual reps. He started games. He started all 9 games 2 years ago or a couple years back before he was out for a full season in 2023. So that's why he has the extra year. So overall, I think it's a good ad. I think this is a nice little addition. We'll see if they add another one through portal or recruiting or whatever it may be, or through a freshman class. But at the moment, the tight end room looks a lot faster and so much better. I mean, you have Payne, you have Cayenne, you have Braden Staten, you have Jackson Verdugo, is someone who they're very high on, played a lot in the spring game. He was apparently a top 10 pick in the draft too. So they really like what they've seen from Jackson Verdugo. It's a fast room. So it's definitely one that's improved, and it's one that's layered in a way where now they have guys for years to come.
And Cayenne, he's got to have some brains too, right? You went to Penn. That's Ivy League. That's I mean, look, you're not taking silly classes in an Ivy League school. You got to have some knowledge. So shout out to him. So the receiving core. Oh, it's a fun position to talk about because we've already seen some talent here and there. So Dawson coming from Colorado, that was Pac-12 country. Now it's Big 12 country. Regardless, he put up some solid stats there, and this is going to be his 1 year of eligibility remaining. He is a Florida guy from Lehigh Acres, 4-star recruit out of high school. I think he initially committed to Auburn, so he has gotten power conference level offers and commitments, and he spent 2 seasons at Auburn, then he went to Colorado, teamed up with primetime Deion Sanders. So he has experience at the high level. Now he takes it to the G5 level. Where does he fit in with this wide receiver core? That does look really, really, really good.
Yeah, it's been good early returns on that receiving core, but again, as we noted, it's a very inexperienced one. An Eric Nelson, a Kyle McNeil, a couple other guys who've just yet to take an offensive snap. And then you have Juju Lewis, who was a Georgia Tech transfer last season, only played in 4 games, returning for the fall, who suffered an ACL injury. And we spoke about Alex Perry, the Hawaii transfer. So it's an interesting. And Shaborn Demps, Smaj Demps, who's kind of like your Debo type guy, who's gonna be in the backfield a little bit. That's kind of what I see for Tavares Dawson. Like, he's like a small dude, really fast, and Colorado kind of used him in a variety of ways. But that's experience, and he was at Jacksonville State last season. He wasn't. My understanding is that he did start playing. He played a couple of games, as you could see, but it seemed like that wide receiver room was set in a way that he just wasn't going to get an opportunity. And that was the case. He only played, I think, 2 or 3 games. He didn't get too much action. Didn't even play against FIU, from what I was told. So, yeah, that's an interesting guy, but he's a really fast dude. So, and that's the only one that's been made official at the moment. So, I like this one. He's going to be a nice little slot piece. Maybe he will start at the slot. I wouldn't be surprised. But usually, and this is one thing that Coach McIntyre said, and he's not wrong, a lot of players that enter the spring portal and join their team in the fall are going to be a little bit behind, just solely because of obviously how late in the portal you went in and how late you are joining your team. A team that, for example, Willie and Nick Coleman may already have some sort of starting offense set. Now, I don't think that's the case by any means, but more or less that's what I'm thinking. But again, I like Tavares Dawson. I think he's a really solid guy, and pretty good get for FIU. All things considered. Had a little scuffle at Colorado. Was kicked off the team due to personal issues, is what I understand. So not too bad, but this is a guy who had a lot of potential at Colorado, and I think he still does. Yeah. It's a big upside pickup for FIU.
A fresh start can always make a difference in this sport. And coming back to the state, coming back to your home state, I think that can make a big, big impact for this kid. And I'm hoping that he can get some reps with the team. Maybe get some snaps against Bethune-Cookman either early or late in that game. You never know. If it's a blowout, if FIU's up by a lot, you can throw in whoever you want just to see what clicks, in a game like that.
That's the case. FIU hasn't been able to blow out an FCS opponent in a minute.
Yeah, I get it, but
LIU, I want to say.
Yeah, LIU. There were some other blowouts as well, but we'll see what happens. Again, there's going to be a lot of time for this team to adjust before we even start to talk about actual football being played for this Panther squad. So I think we'll leave it at that for football. The spring game was fun. Like I said, I'm happy it was an actual football game, and everyone seems stoked. Coach Simmons seems stoked about the direction that he's taken this squad, and I think most of the coaching staff has agrees with him. I mean, we've spoken to a few already with Nick Coleman and Ponce, so they're all locked in, and now we wait. Now we play the waiting game, which I hate the waiting game. It sucks. There's too much waiting in the college football offseason. Same thing with the NFL. Too much waiting. involved in that sport.
All I know is that we're going to be out there at fall practice a lot more this time around, and that starts usually right before the season. So for me, that's awesome. Like no school, like all online classes. Like I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be there.
Online. You planned ahead. Okay. All right.
Oh, I planned ahead.
Planned way ahead. All right. Let's go from something positive to something that's pretty negative. Yeah. Basketball. Who's left?
Nobody. Literally
nobody. There's not a soul left in that roster for men's basketball. What do you want me to say? The transfer portal has hit. The transfer portal always brings you both good and bad. I don't know. Has any other team even come close to being hit as hardly as FIU has when you don't have a soul to your name? I mean, maybe it's a good thing.
For what it's worth, Western Kentucky and Kennesaw State lost a lot of players too. Like not to the same extent as FIU, but like Kennesaw only has like 2 players left on their roster, so it's not entirely different. And I want to clarify. I think the only player left on FIU's roster, and from my understanding, there's no word of him hitting the portal yet, but I think he has. Like it's really like a weird situation. It's Ibo. I'm not even gonna try to say his name. It's a very complicated one. He played like 2 games for FIU, but worst comes to worst, he's still on the team. But again, it's gonna be a fresh new team for FIU, like completely new.
Oh, you mean Olajuwon?
Yes,
Olajuwon Ibrahim from.
That's how you say it. Yeah.
Yeah, from Nigeria. Yeah, I'm trying to listen. I had to do some studying. I have to talk about the Rory Awards in a second. I want to make sure I get as many pronunciations as I can right. But okay, he's here. That's cool. But any identity this team had is vamonos. It's gone. And I'm going to wish them all the best of luck, of course, because move on to bigger and better things. But wow, this is crazy. And the assumption, and it looks like it's going to happen, Coach Ballard will come back next season.
He's coming back, yep.
Yeah, so he'll be back. He's going to have this is going to be the craziest offseason he'll probably ever have to go through because he has to build a whole team.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the one thing too, because remember when Jeremy Ballard got here, he essentially had a team set up. He just had to make a little changes here and there, and that's why he got off to such a good start. Now, again, I'm not saying it's not because of him that he started off so well at FIU. He obviously had some sort of impact to make, but look, he's going to have the opportunity to build a team that he wants. This will be his team, his players. Hopefully NIL treats him a little bit better this time around. Obviously, that's a big reason why so many guys are leaving and have left FIU in the past years. That goes for all sports, not just basketball or football. That's for every single sport, major sport, because unfortunately some sports just doesn't really matter. So yeah, tough break for FIU, losing, all your freshman duo of Cole Williams, Ashton Williamson, CUSA honorable mention, Jaden Brewer, CUSA all defensive player, Vianney Salachum's gone. Yeah. Like they're all gone, and not just all because of the portal, because there's some guys that graduated as well, like Dante Wilcox, Jonathan Abar, Onyx Pastoriza. A lot of guys entered. A lot of guys graduated. So, George Bridget. So now it's just a matter of what type of team do you want to build for FIU? Because now this is a blank slate. Jeremy Ballard's on the final year of his deal. If you're going to go all in, go all in. And FIU could go all in through the portal. Now, they could give some money out. They've got money to dish. Now let's see if they're going to dish it. What ways are going to dish it? I'm excited to see what Jeremy Ballard and his staff does. I really am. He's got 1 year left. He's got nothing to lose. Go all in and try to win this USA chip. It's going to be a wide open conference. Kennesaw lost their entire team essentially. So did UTEP. So did Western Kentucky. Liberty won't be the same team. So, and Sam Houston as well. And Jack State, every team lost their top player for what it's worth, except Liberty. I haven't heard about them in a while. So, Jake, all I'm saying is, who knows? FIU gets some good players, a nice starting 5. You get some depth here and there, and you're cooking. You're cooking with gas.
But yeah, no, you're right. It's just NIL has unfortunately, it's not where Ballard or anyone else at the basketball staff would want it to be right now, or Scott Carr, admittedly, would be where you want it to be. Now, to get into the pessimistic side of things here, this is going to be a very important year for Coach Ballard. We've talked about him in the past, Kevin. I think this is going to be his I believe eighth year now at the helm for FIU, 8th or 9th, somewhere around that range. 7th. Okay, he's been around here a while. That's all. That's what I'm trying to say. At this point, this team is going to be in his hands. It's going to be based on how he wants it to look. It's not just him and his staff and what NIL allows, but this is going to be a make or break season for him because the FIU fan base. Let's keep it a buck here, Kevin. We're getting a little frustrated with losing records, bad conference records, and while you do win the first round of the CUSA tournament, you can't get by the second. That has unfortunately become a recurring thing here, just like 4-8 was a recurring thing for the football team, and they got rid of McIntyre, and now we have Coach Simmons. So I'm going to wish the best of luck to Ballard. This is probably going to be his toughest challenge as a head coach for FIU basketball, but we need to see improvement this upcoming season. There's just no shadow of a doubt. I mean, we know now, we've always known, but we really know now that Scott Carr and the athletic program wants to see each team succeed. So I think the leash is off, and for the sake of a lot of people, the basketball needs to do really, really well this season. Because we know, Kevin, basketball can succeed here in South Florida. Those crooks from they're not crooks. Those unfortunate guys from Boca Raton did it. Guys from Coral Gables did it. And even at Nova Southeastern, they have a dynasty going on at Nova Southeastern in the D2 level. That is a basketball powerhouse. That's like, 20, 30 minutes away from FIU? They're really close to FIU for what it's worth. I get it. And D2 is completely different. NIL scheduling, blah, blah, blah. But wow. They shout out Nova, man. The Sharks, they are an amazing D2 squad. I think 2 out of 3, the last 3 seasons for them, they've won the Natty at the D2 level. So you can't tell me basketball in the South Florida market cannot work, because it absolutely can. And I think it absolutely should for FIU. So I am hoping this is the season where they can finally get it done.
Yeah, for sure.
So alrighty then, we've just hit the 30-minute mark. It's time for a quick news, or maybe not so quick news break, but it's time for a news break. What do you say, Kev?
Let's do it.
All right, here's a look at my news break, going over all things FIU athletics and just FIU in general. And today it's going to be solely on the Rory Awards. That was not that long ago. There is a complete list of the winners. I'll go through most of them. As far as the team MVPs and sportsmanship awards go, they have the full list on the FIU Athletics website, but I'll go over some of the biggest awards. And let's just get right into it, going with the Courage and Perseverance Award going to Brooke McCann from softball. The most improved male and female go to Jaden Brewer of men's basketball and Emma Becker of swimming and diving. The best game male and female go to Eric Rivers from football and Kennedy Bird from softball. The best play male and female awards go to Eduardo Mustre from men's soccer and Emma Becker from swim and dive. The best record-breaking performances for male and female go to Eric Rivers from football and Michael Valentin from women's track and field. The most improved team goes to FIU softball. The newcomer of the year goes to Isnel Nadabo from women's basketball. Nigel Van Haveren of men's soccer wins the newcomer of the year for the males. Unsung hero is David Bocuzo, I believe that's how you say it, from men's soccer, so shout out to him. Rookie of the year goes to David Hoja from men's soccer. Jillian Huckabee, a Paws Up legend, gets Rookie of the Year for the females. Mr. and Mrs. Clutch. Mustre wins that for men's soccer. Noemi Paquin wins that for women's soccer. And then we have some other awards here, including the Stephen M. Fain Excellence Award going to Harley Kurthoy Davies. Sorry if I really butchered that. From swim and dive. The Adidas Athletic Directors Award goes to women's tennis. Dr. Paul D. Gallagher Community Service Award goes to men's soccer. The Sportsmanship Awards go to both Anika Castellanos from beach volleyball and Jonathan Abar from men's basketball. The Michael Felsberg Spirit Awards go to Michael Valentin and Gabrielle Byron from track and field. And like I said, there's a lot of team MVPs, some notable ones: Travion Barnes for football, Nicole Frank swim and dive, Kennedy Bird softball, Vianney Salachum from men's basketball, Noemi Paquin from women's soccer, Brylan West from baseball, Isnael Nadabo from women's basketball. And then sportsmanship awards, some notable ones: Jeremy Passmore for football, Jonathan Abar for men's basketball, Cole Cleveland for baseball. So shout out to all the winners. And that was a lot of names to go through. So if I butchered yours, I do apologize. I do apologize. But congratulations to everybody who walked out of that thing with an award. Kevin, I guess our invites got lost in the mail. I'm just kidding. But I do have a navy blue tux that would go pretty hard at an event like that. You probably have some heat too. You could probably rock to Rory Awards. I'm just saying.
We'll see.
Alrighty, so let's talk some baseball. It's been a pretty fun past few weeks for the Panthers. They've looked pretty good. At the time of recording, they have a record of 22-13. They and they're 6-5 in the conference. They are looking really good. They've already broke a lot of records this season for most wins in a certain period as the season has gone on. But let's start off with that win, that beautiful, glorious win over UCG over at Mark Light Field. We downed some milkshakes, and then we downed the Hurricanes in dramatic fashion. Fans were exiting the seats in the bottom of the ninth, or top of the ninth, top and bottom of the ninth. They were exiting the seats rapido, and it was beautiful. It was glorious. It's no joke. It was one of the best games I've covered for the Paws Up podcast because, as you said, Kevin, I was supposedly the curse, and it was broken. And that game was amazing, Kev.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the clip. Oh, here it is.
Oh, do you have the clip of them leaving early? Yes.
I'm gonna pull it up.
Rock that ish, Kevin. Come on.
Share screen. Allow. Here we go. There they go. That tweet got a lot of engagement for what it's worth.
That was right after the RBI from AD Austin Deering that put the game was already far and away out of reach, but that made it extra out of reach, and the Canes faithful had enough. So no, that was a great game from start to finish for FIU. You can tell they really wanted that one. They threw out everybody pitching wise and batting wise. They came to play. So that was probably one of the best performances overall this season from FIU.
Yeah, shout out to Jaden Bishop, career high 4 innings pitch, had the strikeout. Logan Rundy, who really needed to get back on track, did with his inning of work. But FIU got it going right away. 5 runs in the first, then after that, 4 more in the ninth. So FIU started off hot and they finished off hot. So that's what you wanted. FIU and the Canes will match up again really soon, actually, on the 23rd.
Here.
April 23rd, here in Miami.
Yeah.
We're in FIU, at FIU. So UCG will face FIU at home. We'll be there. I will be there. Will you?
Probably, dude. It's the Canes and FIU. It's one of those matchups where, especially now that we know that they can beat them. Now we have video eyeball confirmation that FIU can take down the Canes. Not just take them down, they can smoke them. So if they can smoke them there, I have no doubt in my mind they can smoke them here in the 3L5, especially because, the season that the Canes have had, I'll just say this. I'm surprised their coach is still hanging around over there in Miami. The fans have not been happy.
We'll see what happens. They're not happy by any means.
Like, you should see there's a quote tweet to that video you just put out saying that this ain't it, Chief. Yeah, this ain't it. So this isn't a Canes podcast. You can go watch Miami Nights for that or any of the other phenomenal podcasts that cover the Miami Hurricanes. But after that Canes game, things kind of went downhill, Kevin. They went to Ruston, did not look good against the Bulldogs. Granted, neither did the weather in Ruston, but that was still a pretty bad series from the Panthers overall. Gave up 18 runs in 2 games. That's no bueno. The last game was canceled, so that's a bummer. So you come back home. That was the end of a very long, tedious road trip for FIU. They come back home and then win 2 out of 3 against New Mexico State, including a 9-2 win in the Sunday finale. Pitching wise, batting wise, they were okay. In the Friday game, they lost a close one 6-4, but after that, 8-2, 9-2. So overall, a good outing in the Saturday and Sunday games to get a series win, which is always good to see. So talk about what we were able to see from Louisiana in that Louisiana Tech series. Kev, a lot of bad. How much does the weather affect that, and how they were able to rebound this past weekend?
Yeah, it really is unfortunate that second game got called, that early, because you had Owen Puck on a nice little, scoreless streak. And then you had Keyshawn who had the home run. You were off to a nice little start, brewing something early, and unfortunately that game gets called. But look, overall, from where we started, which was the Miami series, up until now, where FIU is now, I want to say 6-5 in conference play. Yeah, they are 6-5 in conference play, 22-13 overall. The pitching has really improved. You look at this past weekend against New Mexico State, FIU allowed a total of, let's find it because it's pretty impressive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 runs. 8 runs in total. FIU scored, I'm sorry, not 8. Yeah, it was 10 runs. 10 runs between all 3 games, which in CUSA standards is actually really good. FIU scored 8 against New Mexico State in that middle game in the win. They scored 9 in the win on Sunday, and they scored only 4 in the loss. So overall, over 20 runs scored for FIU. You take that any day of the week. And then you had an awesome start by Owen Puck in that middle game of the New Mexico State series with him striking out 9, career high for him, going 4 in that game. Then you had Juan Villarreal, who had a very nice start on Sunday, going 4 1/3 or 4 2/3. He struck out 7 in that one, kept them pretty quiet. And then just looking a little bit further back, as you mentioned, the Louisiana Tech one, definitely a tough one. That's a team that you should have beaten that game 1. Should have beat them in game 2 as well. Didn't go your way. And then what was the other one? Middle Tennessee before that. Take 2 out of 3. That's huge, especially after what happened that first game. That was terrible. Aside from that, FIU's are kind of not rolling, but they're kind of playing pretty well. Now they go to FGCU. They start another really long road trip, 4-game trip at FGCU, and then 3 against Kennesaw. Actually, 5-game road trip, 2 at FGCU, 3 against Kennesaw, and then you welcome Miami, and then you welcome the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky. That's a massive series. Like everything after, like starting now, you're going up against some really good teams. You're facing Florida Atlantic one more time at Boca Raton. You're going up against Dallas Baptist, at Miami one last time, and then you have a really tough slate against Liberty and Sam Houston. So it's Sam Houston's actually maybe a walk in the park. You're going to be clipping me at the end of the season when I said that. But overall, good stuff from baseball. Keshawn Frett, man, like holy crap, like
He's
that
crazy.
Look, we talk about potential draft picks. Keshawn Frett and Owen Puck are my 2 potential draft picks, and Alex Ulloa. Alex is having himself one hell of a season. After a little bit of a slow start, really got it going. He's been awesome. So certain guys have been really fun to watch and really cool to watch, and those 3 are definitely some of them.
We were wondering early on what would the average starting lineup look like for FIU game in and game out. We know the first 4 basically on how FIU rolls every game, every other game at this point, because they can change things here and there, but it's pretty much a lock at this point that you get Ulloa at the 1, which I think he's been a pretty good leadoff batter for FIU. Kish at the 2. I mean, we already talked about Kish, the kind of season he's having, ridiculous. Bradlin West at the 3, and at the cleanup spot, they've moved people around. AD was at the cleanup spot this past series against New Mexico State, so they've had some liberties there, but I think it's mainly been Ildefonso at the 4 spot for this squad. So overall, how are you liking how the average batting order looks for FIU? Is there anyone you're surprised that hasn't been given maybe some more chances? I feel like there might be some changes needed here and there, or just where do you see the batting lineups looking like for FIU?
I think Winton finally found the consistency. Finally found some consistency there. Especially since they put Ulloa hitting first, and I know Brylan really struggled when they moved him down just a couple spots in the lineup. But still, I mean, when you've been hitting there your whole career at FIU, it's really tough to make that adjustment. And they made it, and it's working. Some splits favored Ulloa certain ways, some splits favored other guys certain ways, and that's how you make your lineup changes. And overall, it's been pretty well done, and we're finally seeing that consistency. Unfortunately, some injuries have really hurt the catching depth, but we saw Mark Hirsch on Sunday, who hit the home run. Really cool for him, first career one. And you've been seeing a lot of Brendan Rooney, some Nelson Rivera. Hopefully, Rene Lastros comes back soon. I spoke to him the other day. He says he'll be back really soon. So, hopefully, as soon as that Kennesaw series, that would be huge. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I'm liking the order that they've kind of placed in right now. You're seeing a lot of Ildefonso hitting cleanup with someone who's really earned his way up here with FIU. So, yeah.
Pitching-wise, I think the starters have looked really good for FIU, and there have been some relievers that have looked great too. You have guys like Rundy and Puck giving you some really good outings here and there. As far as the rest of the bullpen and some closers, I think they're still not where I think they want to be. Personally, they are scoring a lot of runs, but there have been a lot of games this season where they've given up a lot of runs. For example, the Louisiana Tech series where they didn't do all that well. and in the first game of the New Mexico State series, but even going further back, every game against Middle Tennessee was a dogfight with who was giving up more runs between the Panthers and the Blue Raiders. So I think pitching-wise, it's gotten steadily better as the season has gone on, Kevin. But I think Coach would tell you this, there's still room for improvement as we get towards some of the tougher matchups that FIU still has to go through, include, against teams like Western Kentucky and Dallas Baptist and Liberty along the way. The pitching needs to get even better.
Yeah, especially the bullpen. The bullpen's really had their blow-ups this season, especially early on. And early on in conference play specifically, like they had some big blow-up there where it was just terrible. I think it was the first conference home series, the one against Jack State, where they just blew it. So that was terrible. But aside from that, look, they've finally found their groove here and there. And I think you also need your starters to go deeper into games. And the way they're doing it is where they're going with their starter going 4 or 5 innings, and then they're piggybacking someone else who could go 4 or 5. So I like the way they've gone about that. Trace and Cameron is one who I've really enjoyed watching so far this season. Struggled a little bit, towards the middle. Now it's finally finding that consistency. Was pretty good against New Mexico State in the Friday loss. But, yeah, I think the bullpen has its ways to go, but it's finally kind of rounding up the way it should.
There has been a murderer's row for this FIU offense as far as batting wise. There have been some absolute killers at the plate. If you had to pick one, I think Kish would be an easy choice. Taking away Kish and what he's able to do. Who are some of the other batters that you have been like absolutely shocked at how well they've done this season? Like they were some sleeper picks, if you will.
Oh, Ildefonso. I don't think anyone saw him do what he's doing right now, and that's nothing against him. Just like someone I never heard of. Not. I knew who he was, obviously. Someone you've never heard of during the preseason. Someone who's going to play a lot. Like, no, I didn't hear anything about that, and I'm glad that I'm being proven wrong, and I'm being known who Angel Ildefonso is, who's also pitching too. He's a two-way guy, so he's been doing both.
The next Otani.
I've really enjoyed watching him in that cleanup spot. Hit a little bit lower this weekend in the lineup, but he had a home run on Sunday, I want to say. He's been someone I've really enjoyed watching, so I'll go with Andrew Ildefonso, the Miami product, the Miami guy.
I don't know if this is updated to include today's game, but as of right now, the leader in hits in this squad is West with 46. The leader in homers is Kish by a country mile, 14 total.
It's close.
RBIs goes to RBIs tied with Kish and Ulloa at 30 each. Let's take a look at the hit by pitches. It's Kish still leading with 18. That is, I don't know if that's the stat you want to lead in, but all the power to you. So looking at just CUSA in general, kind of where FIU baseball currently stands. Let me pull it up right here. We'll quickly look at it because we're starting to get to that hour mark. As far as batting averages go, Western Kentucky leads the way, but FIU is not too far behind. And that's nothing really against FIU's hitting. Conference USA just has a lot of really good teams offensively. And, Dallas Baptist was, I believe, nationally ranked to start the season. They've fallen off a little bit, and Western has kind of become the top dog of Conference USA right now. So that's going to be a series to monitor down the line. I think it's a week or 2 weeks away when they have to go to Bowling Green and take on the Hilltoppers. So a lot can be decided there. As far as RBIs goes, FIU is third behind Western and Dallas Baptist. Homers, FIU is second in CUSA and homers behind DBU, which is cool to see. And hit by pitches, come on, man. That's just the way it goes. Now looking at ERAs, total ERAs, unfortunately, FIU, they're middle of the pack. The best ERA belongs to Western Kentucky. I mean, the Hilltoppers, you have to say, Kevin, they're probably the team to beat in CUSA come tournament time.
Them and La Tech.
Yeah, La Tech has looked good too, but I would sure like to play La Tech in good weather. I'd like to get a fair series. We're not going to get that. I'd like a fair game in Lynchburg if we have to.
That's something to monitor, though, when you think about it, because if FIU and La Tech find themselves 1 and 2, and you need a game to determine the 1 seed, they're going to have to play that final game. I don't know how that's going to work, but that one game that did get called off, they're going to have to play it, even if it's a 7-inning game. Neutral site, like
maybe at Lynchburg.
See how that ends up. That's the other thing I was talking to someone about. It's like maybe just play it in Lynchburg a couple days before. Like, that'll be really interesting to see how it plays out. Hopefully, it gets to the point where that game is not necessary. But if it is, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
This is a good stat to not be ahead of FIU's near the bottom of the conference in errors. Middle Tennessee leads, and Western Kentucky is actually pretty good amount of errors this season, 43 so far and counting. So that's a stat you obviously don't want to be super high on. Now, looking at the let me stop sharing that and share this real quick. The standings here in CUSA. I have them here. Give me just 1 second. Here we go. So here's how things look like right now. Western's ahead of everybody in 9-3 conference record. La Tech's right behind them, 8-3. But in overall records, Western still has the best. They're 31-5. Like, damn, that is a good looking record there. They're 22-0 at home. They have not lost at home, Kevin Burrell. They are Bowling Green is where dreams go to die in baseball this season. FIU, they're there with New Mexico State, Kennesaw, all those guys, and then you have DBU and La Tech being some of the closest teams to Western at that top spot. So, I mean, it's too early to judge seeding and who FIU would play it to start the tournament, but I think they're in a pretty good spot, and they're not too far away from Kennesaw. I mean, FIU can immediately jump Kennesaw by doing well against them in this upcoming series. Again, this was recorded on the 13th of April. So we will learn a lot about where this FIU team is at come tournament time against how they do against some of the top dogs in CUSA. And to close out the regular season, Kevin, just look who FIU has to play. Kennesaw State, Dallas Baptist, Western Kentucky. For the 3 of the top 4 teams in Conference USA, FIU still has to play. I know they also play Sam Houston, who is having a
Liberty.
bad season. And Liberty. Yeah, Liberty's up there too. They play Sam Houston. They're having a pretty rough season, whatever. But there's going to be a lot of great talent FIU still has to go through. So hopefully the batting gets even better and the pitching gets way better, and we'll see where this FIU team stands and how real they are when it comes to maybe winning the CUSA title game.
All right.
Yeah, so I think let's quickly look at softball. By the way, shout out Ricardo doing softball stuff. You love to see it. Yep. 29-14, they're rocking it. They won another season series against La Tech. They take on UTEP next week. Shout out them. They're having a really great season. So definitely have to keep an eye on them over at Phillipsburg Field. Kevin, I know you've been helping out with stats and whatnot. You've been doing a lot of things at Phillipsburg Field. So you've been able to see the team put in the work. So we'll leave it there. Yeah. Alrighty, let's wrap up, Kev. Any final thoughts on either football, what you want to see from them as we get closer to the season, basketball, what direction you want Coach Bauer and the staff to take with a brand new squad, and then baseball with keep playing these games until we get to the really big stuff over in Lynchburg.
A lot's coming up. Yeah, I'm excited. We'll be here. A lot coming up for us. Like we're trying to grind it. We're trying to grind it through to get to that 100th episode. So I'm looking forward to that.
We already have, I think you mentioned this at the top, Kev. We have quite a few guests lined up from the world of TV production, from the world of soccer, and from the world of other podcasts and radio. We have a lot of cool things lined up, and like I said, we've been working with FIU Athletics themselves to help us out with episode 100 because we all want it to be special. We know you all want it to be special, and it's going to be a big achievement for us. So we'll leave you at that. 94 and 95, 96, they're all going to be bangers, and we hope you enjoyed this one. So to everyone watching this, we hope you've had a great rest of the week. We wish you well. Go watch FIU regardless of the sport, and until next time, Paws!